Thank you all for being here this evening for our monthly MoAD Open Mic. We're thrilled to have poet reelaviolette Botsward as our featured poet this evening. My name is Nia McAllister, and I'm the Senior Public Programs Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora. As we begin all of our events, we like to ground ourselves in the spaces that we're occupying. As many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent, our institutions were founded upon the exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples on whose lands we are located. MoAD occupies the unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, and we pay our respect to the Ohlone peoples and their elders, both past and present, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We encourage everyone to learn more about the native lands that you occupy by visiting nativeland.ca, and we'll share that resource in the chat as well. It's wonderful to see some familiar faces, some new faces here at tonight's event. So I'll give a brief overview about kind of the flow of tonight's event. Our monthly open mic is a space for community. It's where we bring our full selves, a spectrum of feelings and experiences, all the ways the world around us is shaping us, and how we can use art and poetry to communicate that, to experience that together. So I always emphasize that we center respect in these spaces. Everyone is welcome, and we continue to amplify Black voices. And again, we have our wonderful feature this evening. So we're going to start off with our open mic readers and then transition to our feature. For those who are in the audience joining us tonight who will not be reading, please, we ask you keep yourselves on mute throughout the event so we can hear all the readers, but please use the reactions, air snaps, claps, any ways to affirm all the readers is highly encouraged. Any lines that stand out to you, type those in the chat. You are just as important as our readers in this space. Everyone is contributors and participants. So with that, I will be dropping the lineup in the chat in just a second, but I would like to invite up Norm Maddox to kick us off.
Good evening. I have a few pieces here, some of that being new shit. We also have some tribute to fallen partners and then some more new stuff. I'm starting off with One Body Missing. The absence of God found on a stack of presidents. Dead bodies with craters letting out gas, blowing up inside hate-filled bodies for generations. Bodies chased to hell in pursuit of paper. Teasing fingertips snap God between their fingers as if God were a whiff of smoke. Like answering prayers is God's work, but they's about to go on strike. Minimum wage ain't enough to pay rent and keep heaven clean at the same time. Every prayer discounted, while answered prayers will be auctioned off by a rigged lottery. Probably sounds as fair as a voting system in your neighborhood. Next piece. I am fractal. Presumptuous to think one moment follows another. Life flows away from now, seems like forward. Time is how we measure chaos and call it order. We are dots connecting ourselves to make sense. This is to one of our fallen partners in life. Ashes yearn for company. A partner in life, a trajectory of happily ever afters. She went away love, she came home grief. She packed all her smiles, boxes stacked to the ceiling, handwritten labels, block letter kisses, bubble wrapped hugs, closets full of memories. Her feet used to walk in those shoes. A parade of sisters standing in formation. Joy and grief that she comes to visit anytime, uninvited on her whim. No plans on being miserable, leaving the closet door open to crack. Fingers, hearts, eyes read the card with the signature written in her hand. Confident she is welcome, she has her own key, although she knocks every time. I let her in. The door left ajar. She has a long shadow. I have other things to do. She won't stay as long as her shadow has a place to stand under the hat, in the closet, ajar. Next piece. Love needs love today, after Stevie Wonder. There's no channel everyone tunes into. Maybe a blockbuster movie with Viola Davis, a woman king whooping John Shaft, bust his butt. Subliminal tags stitched into each frame boost love as an energy source, feeling exhilarated and adrenalized enough to reach out, hug a stranger without fear of misunderstanding. Look for love, find the wellspring, dip your ladle, the reservoir, an oasis of love, invisible in the darkest mood, a moonless sky. Attract more love like gravity holds us in touch with the ground. Last piece. This is called #Throwback Thursday. A few lifetimes ago, Mount Tamalpais was just over my head. Horizons fell away just beyond my fingertips. Looking forward, I didn't see the chaos, regurgitated self-living. No, not living life, decomposing in front of me. I didn't imagine the chaos inside me, cells composing shadows on shining paths. Rage smolders on the shoulders of my byways, heat waves, outrage, memory banks, the tinderbox. Self-immolation plus spontaneous combustion. Didn't see the phoenix shed fear of feathers on fire. Knew life on this path was going to take off. Ashes in my wake. Peace.
Those were beautiful. Thank you so much, Norm, for sharing those. And it's exciting, again, as always, to hear the new pieces. Thank you so much. Next up, I would like to invite Raymond Nat Turner. Welcome, Raymond.
Oh, is it possible to come back to me? Let's see if I'm just getting.
No problem. We
We
can go back. We can come back to you if you want.
Okay, let's try it now.
All right.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna try and do two pieces if I can. And it's good to see you all again. This first piece is entitled "Why Good Guys with Guns Flunk Out in Schools Near You." They were the bullies, taunting and mocking creative kids, or creatives bullied to tears. They were animal torturers, rotten, dirty tricksters, least likely legally laid, failed jocks, highlight plays coming after the whistle, boxers whose best work was below the belt, closet Klansmen, Hitler lovers jacking off on Mein Kampf. Now they've grown bigger, stronger on vitamin S, backed by gangs posing as unions with lots of guns, loads of loot, impunity, 24/7 propaganda. Now they are the framers, finding fathers, finding magic powder, pills, joints, knives, guns and coats and cars. Now they are America's finest fiction writers, superb test-a-line under oath, travel agents shipping working poor people upstate to scurvy infernos for slow motion assassinations. Now they are God with Glock, weaponized knees and arms, white supremacists, magicians transforming common situations into dramatic dances of death, makers of split-second decisions. Which one of us 1,000 will die at their hands this year? Split-second decisions, beating First Amendment urges out of oppressed peoples, firing flash-bang grenades into faces of marchers, blowing their eyeballs out. Split-second decisions, ramming and bumping protesters with patrol cars, and ordering pregnant people down on the ground with less lethal love for fetuses than fourth graders with 10 years experience and Saturn-sized dreams. And this next piece is called, it's something about my hometown, where I grew up. It's called We Were LA Way Before They. And the epigraph is, quote, ignorance allied with power is the most ferocious enemy justice can have, end quote, James Baldwin. Venom-drenched recorded conversation of Rattler City Council criminals with labor serpent fluent in forked tongue, poisoned the smog, city of angels ruled by devils. Not our Chicano moratorium, Mecha memories of the way we were. Could it be that class struggle was so simple then? We were Black and brown poets named Miles, Miguel, Alejandro, Raymond, named Guzman, Proctor, Mugia, Turner, burnished by breakaway sun, singing songs of solidarity. We were Black and brown poets walking vertically, wearing oneness on our sleeves, standing shoulder to shoulder in struggle, filling Compton and LA libraries and stages with 4-alarm fire. We were LA way before they. We were Black and brown poets carrying compasses, South and East LA. We celebrated piping hot pinto beans, juicy collard greens, handmade tortillas, buttery cornbread, jazz, wine, weed, and mariachi. We celebrated boycotted grapes, brazen black cats, brown berets, and commemorated martyrs. We were LA way before they. We were Black and brown poets and kofa birds flocking, flying forward faster, resisting Pentagon with the wind, sausage machine in Southeast Asia, gobbling up, grinding down, steel squads of ghetto, barrio warriors suited for service on the home front. We were red car babies with complicated handshakes, embraces, way before Black faces in high places, way before brown faces in high places, white supremacy places at the expense of salt of the earth. We were LA way before they. We were Black and brown poets before cesspool plotters, planners backed by bloody badged bandito executioner armed wings, arresting dreams and tarp, tent, cardboard mattress, skid rows. Before huckster bullshitters looking down Pinocchio noses at calloused hands, blistered feet of lunch bucket brigades. Before battery operated corporate control, self-serving ethnic cleansers, treacherous white supremacists, strong men, women with worldwide networks. Still, we were LA way before they. We were LA way before they. Let's see. Cool.
Love it. Thank you so much, Raymond, for both of those pieces, and that tribute was excellent.
Thank
Always
you.
wonderful to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Next up, I would like to invite Mar Hudson up to the mic. Welcome. Oh, I don't think we can hear you. We still can't hear you. Yeah, we can circle back to you. No problem. Let's see. So I'm going to read a couple pieces and then invite up our feature, and then we'll circle back to you more afterwards. So I have a couple pieces that I'm going to share this evening. The first of which is entitled Inheritance, and it's a tribute to the women in my family. When I say silver runs in the family, I'm not talking that old money silver. We're talking thick braids, smooth locks, defiant curls, strands that fall like paper trails, wisps destined to defy gravity, edges slick like tide lines. Our wealth comes wrapped in silk scarves, protected nightly, fishtailed tightly, laid to rest upon satin sheets. We know that homegrown wealth best, that argon dipped, coconut oil coated, wash and go ready riches. Abundance never smelled so good. I count my strands carefully, lamenting the few who fall too early. Just wait until I wear my pearly halo proudly. Black at the root, silver is the crown. The women in my family only know how to age backwards. Our roots, once born Black and proud, stay always Black and proud. Thank you. So it was Black Poetry Day on Monday, National Black Poetry Day, which was exciting. And I was fortunate to be in community with some other wonderful poets, reading poems both for and by some of our Black literary ancestors. And so I chose to read one of my favorite poems entitled Consort of the Spirits, and it's inspired by the opening passage of Ntozake Shange's Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. And I did something different on Monday where I actually read the beginning passage from her book before reading my poem. And so I'm going to do that today. So this is the first paragraph of Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. Where there is a woman, there is magic. If there is a moon falling from her mouth, she is a woman who knows her magic, who can share or not share her powers. A woman with a moon falling from her mouth, roses between her legs, and tiaras of Spanish moss. This woman is a consort of the spirits. And so this poem is entitled Consort of the Spirits, after Ntozake Shange. There are roadmaps in my great-great-grandmother's braids. She keeps seeds in there too, because where we are going, home must come with us. Tell me how your mother hides spices in the hem of her skirt, tucks hymns behind her ears, and calls it packing for tomorrow. Do the women in your family hide rose water in their saliva, sage in between their thighs? Because how dare we sleep on strange land without blessing? There are black-eyed peas in my auntie's coin purse. She keeps moonlight in there too. Because luck is far more precious than loose change. Tell me how your sister folds indigo leaves between her toes, smuggles cotton flowers under her arms, and promises that where we are going, there will be color. Did the women in your family wrap beeswax around their ring fingers, tuck matchsticks in their collarbones, and vow that we will never know darkness? I carry a cowrie shell in the crook of my arm. It sings when my twins are near. I wear sea glass upon my ears because where we are going, there will be music. They call this survival, but we know better. Where there is a woman, there is magic. They call this survival, but we pack what we must because what we return to may no longer be ours. They call this survival, but this ritual of making to leave before knowing where we're headed is how we birth futures. They call this survival, but the body is a compass and we are each other's destination. Thank you. It's now my pleasure to introduce our featured poet for this evening. I'd like to introduce reelaviolette Botsward, who is a homegirl, an artist, and a non-traditional community curator from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, currently a lecturer of African American Studies at Merritt College, and I believe a doctoral recipient in African Diaspora Studies at the University of California, Berkeley. Her research explores Black women's healing spaces in Oakland as sites of radical self-making and spiritual reclamation. As founder of Black Women Healing, recreates healing circles, exhibitions, courses, and research for and by Black women. Her first book, Mourning My Inner Black Girl Child from Nomadic Press, uses poetics as practices to explore ancestral grief work, spiritual gifts, and embodied modes of diasporic healing. Welcome, Ree.
Peace, family. OMG. Thank y'all so much for having me. It's really an honor. Thank you, Nia, for the invitation. It's beautiful to just be in community with fellow poets. Shout out to my husband for being here. Hello, my love. So great to see you. Also to my mentor, Rihanna. Thank you so much for coming through. Yeah, just really, really grateful to be in community with y'all. Again, my name is reelaviolette Botsward. When I sent that bio, I hadn't got my PhD, but since then I have. So I'm freshly Dr. reelaviolette Botsward. I'm practicing saying that. And I'm really excited to share some work. I have been working on a book based on my dissertation. And my dissertation was called I See You, Sis, Curations of Black Women's Healing Spaces in Oakland, California. And the intention with the work is to center everyday round the way Black girls, thinking about particularly unhoused and housing insecure Black women in Oakland and how, you know, my homegirls and me were curating spaces to be well in the wake of displacement. I am from Philly, and I came to the town and I felt like Oakland adopted me. And so I really wanted to write something that honored the Black women who made room for my healing. So the book that I'm working on now is called Curate, Conjure, Release, centering everyday round the way geographies of Black women healing in Oakland. And so I want to read some of that. And then I also, if I still have time, want to read from my book, Mourning My Inner Black Girl Child. All the work I do is around healing for Black women and all the ways that looks like. So this book is really about inner child healing. So I'm gonna maybe come back to this one. Nia, are you gonna give me can you give me like a 5-minute warning when I got 5 minutes left?
Of course.
Thank
and
you so
up
much.
front, you definitely have time to read from your book. Please do.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I will start from Curate, Conjure, Release. And these are like never before read. A lot of them are. So I'm really excited to share some new stuff with y'all. This first piece is called Part 1, Where Black Girls Go for Healing. And I just want to shout out my husband again, because a conversation that we were having on one of our like cabin retreat trips inspired this poem. It's called The Ghetto is Sacred Grounds. The ghetto is sacred grounds. Have your shoes off when you enter. Dab some oil on your forehead when you come. Have your scripture in hand when you step foot into this scattered dream, broken promise, prism, schism. The ghetto is concrete death, and the longing for home is a healing space marked by cobblestone blues. The ghetto is a gorgeous reminiscent of freedom, a mosaic of remnants in the wake. The ghetto is an inspiring something, is a staccato waiting to bloom. Somewhere, someone finds everything sacred in the ghetto, in the God of magic, in the making of life from shredded bones. Somewhere, someone is pounding a promise into Broad Street concrete, making sand out the stone she was given. Part 2, The Scalp is a Guide to Your Healing. An architect of my scalp, she smiles before each braid, curating on my head a reflection of what I curate in my home. She braids healing into my head and into my heart, holding my memory in each strand, capturing the energy of my movement through interiors with each part, knot, twist, turned braid. She plats her anger into my skin, and I welcome it. I welcome all the ways her words need to be held in the hues of my braids. In telling her story, she tells so much of my own. I tell her lately I've been real sad and blue as she braids blue weave into my scalp. I tell her how the colors I choose to place in my hair always be tied to my mood. Lately, I've been feeling so sad, so blue, like a Black girl with a blue soul and no one to hold. Why healing gotta be so goddamn heavy when you a Black girl with gut-wrenching memories of the childhood you never had access to. The intricacy of the geometric roadmap she narrates at my roots reveals interior cartographies beneath my scalp. She unearths labyrinths beneath my dandruff, gifts me with the guide that spirit guides birthed into the encoding of my femininity, the blueprint for my journey to return to me. As she scrapes the flakes from beneath my skin, she takes me to the door, into the self that leads me home to the interiors that my future selves and the heavens have curated to set me free. Here in the space between skull and bone, at the intersection of material and metaphysical remembering, the self and the soul and the scalp and the home merge into each other to cultivate multi-dimensional healingscapes of all the selves I've ever been. Worlds that weave themselves back together beneath the curve and twist of each braid. wars that wave white flags with each threaded strand. And I think maybe if I give myself that, the plaits, the braids, the beads, I could restore all the parts of me that I lost. Part 3, and the twerk will set you free. The twerk church is a holy ceremony, a homegirl haven, a hood girl reckoning, an aligning of signs, a speaking in liquid tongues of suns and moons and risings, a pedagogy of round the way libation that is cultivated within the skin, felt somewhere deep beneath the flesh, folded into the sense of the self, a healing secreted in sweat, a sweet taste of Black girl ratchet freedom. Bodies in motion move in all the ways they ain't supposed to, in all the ways mamas and aunties threaten to pop you for. Pussies pop and lock and drop to the beat of some trap music at the church of praise for all thing that is Black and ratchet and feminine and divine. It's like being 10 years old again with them cousins who from up north who know the new dances that you ain't up on yet. Hands on the wall, booties in the air, practicing your twerk in the mirror, in the basement when your mama not around. Except now it's not even shameful. Only now you are grown enough to embrace the body your little self was taught to be ashamed of. It is just as safe as it was with your cousins. Just as safe to say you don't know how to move all that ass God blessed you with. Safe to say you ain't got no rhythm. You gonna get hyped up anyway. If you got one cheek moving, both cheeks moving, or no cheeks moving, you gonna get hyped up anyway. Cause we curate and joy regardless. Our bodies be art choreographed in song, and Hype Thy Sister be our sacred anthem. All right, I'm just trying to see if there was anything else I wanted to read from here. Okay, so that is a little glimpse of my new book, the project that I'm working on now. Probably gonna be out in like 5 years, so I'm in the early phases of putting it together, but really honored to share that with y'all. And this is my book, baby. This is my very first book, and I just love her so much. I started writing this book when I was 13 years old. Growing up in Philly, I don't know how many of you all are like familiar with the youth poetry slam scene, but if y'all are familiar with the Philadelphia youth poetry movement, I was a little 8th grader with Joshua Bennett and Alicia, like they were freshmen at University of Pennsylvania when I was an 8th grader, and I was like trying to compete with them, and I just wanted to be like them when I grew up. And a funny story, so I just went to New Orleans last week for a conference, and when I was 14 years old performing at the Rotunda, which was like our spoken word spot in Philly when I was coming up, is where like the Philly youth poetry movement was housed. I saw Sonny Patterson perform, and I thought she was just so beautiful and wonderful, and she affirmed my poetry after I had performed and was like, young sister, keep writing, like your words are so powerful. And I just saw her for the first time in 15 years last week, and she was like, I remember you, like I remember that moment. And so, you know, it's just been beautiful to reconnect with her and reconnect with that 13-year-old girl who was a poet and was trying to like step into her voice and step into her truth. And so, you know, this book is for her. Like my inner teenager wrote this book, she birthed this book. It came out 15 years later than when I started it, but I'm really proud of it. And I'm proud of how I've been able to honor all the parts of me in this book. So I'm gonna, let me know, how much more time do I have? Am I at 5 minutes?
You got 5 to 10, so take your time.
Okay, 5 to 10. Well, I will do 2. I just want to read the beginning of the book so y'all can kind of see the framing of I'll read some of the introduction, and then I want to read one of the last poems. So the book starts off. When I was a girl, I had a woman inside me. When I became a woman, I had a girl inside me. I never wanted to be a woman when I was a girl. I never wanted to be a girl when I was a woman. I had to murder the child in me. It was the only way I would be well. As a woman of 23 years who yearned to be grown up, I convinced myself the only way to win womanhood is to make girlhood die. With deep shame about all the ways I had carried her wounds within me, I made the choice to choke her dead for all the ways she forced me outside myself, for all the ways she shielded me from growth. With deep shame about how immature I had been, how unwise, naive, gullible. It was all her fault because she would not let me be woman. And then I go on to talk about that the only way to truly win womanhood is to let girlhood live. And I talk a lot about this tug of war between the inner child in me and the inner Black girl child of all the women of my lineage. I say my inner child is a Black mother's child. Her mother's inner child is a Black mother's child. Being the Black daughter of a Black mother in a nation rooted in hatred for your people is the foundation of the dysfunction within our families. Black girl childhood's been under attack since the birth of the first baby girl in the hold of the Middle Passage. Black girl childhood's been under attack since master's desire for premature wombs to produce the next generation of chattel slavery. This trauma, the impossibility of Black girlhood, passed down by each generation of our mothers, is the context in which we come to know our intergenerational wounds. Inner Black girl child, one word, affirms that the inner Black girl in each of us Black women had a right to her childhood. She rescued herself the best way she knew how from gendered, racialized, sexualized violence. She survived abuse that was generational, perpetual, pervasive. She was just a child carrying the burdens of a woman, a child deserving of her youth. That child in each of us still suffers in the aftermath of her abuse. That child inside our mothers is still struggling too. We become women who work at love the best way we know how. No one ever taught us how to do this. No one ever taught us how to soothe this. And I want to close out with this piece that I haven't got to read in a while. It's called Black Holes. Me, a Black woman who is a Black hole, holds close everything that is sacred. Me, a Black hole who is a mother to myself, holds close everything that is chaotic, floating like friction galaxies that escape my slit of wrist. Me, a Black girl gone wrong, holds close the Black hole of a womb that ruptures each time I take me home. Me, whose unhealed holes made her not know herself. Me, with each Black hole in my heart, with each Black scar that scrapes my throat. Me, a Black girl who is also a Black hole, who be stuck in the hold of the wake. Me, who have no map to make sense of. Me, a whole ass Black girl, woman, child, womb of the wake, wandering soul. Me, who sensed something greater than flesh and spirit. Me, a collection of Black holes, a curation of the unclothed, a citation of bare-boned, naked, nude, unnurtured holes in every single Black girl, woman, child I know. Me, a mosaic of all the unwhole folks who claim Black and womb by their surname. Me, a compilation of catastrophe, an exhibition of the catastrophic Eurosphere that forced me into black holes. Me who is hurting from all those holes, me, a skin cell, me, an inkwell, me, an unwatered, unwanted plucking out a root, me, a floating with no shoes, a feather with no grounding. Me, a moment of collapse in space-time, a sinking into my own black hole with hopes of coming back up whole. Me, a handful of honey, a hair strand of kink, a cloth patterned with memory, a gourd made for drinking, a psalm and a jazz made for thinking. Me and all the things I never knew to love float into the abyss of me. Me and the combination of every black hole I own, rupture a myth of bliss. We become unknown to ourselves, a Satan waiting to bloom. And the loving Black mother inside me says, soon, Black hole, you will learn how you survived, how you climbed yourself outside yourself right before your moon. Soon, Black girl, you will learn the love of mystic darkness is what saved you. The sacred of her covering, the care of her hold on you, how she sucked you in, make you stuck with sin just so you could return to you. Soon, you yearning, mourning, breathing Black hole, you Black woman child will thank your womb for rebirthing you, for renaming your Black hole whole, holder of all that is sacred, releaser of all that has wings, that which can afford to fly from you and find home in someone else's. Soon, my child, you will see that there could be no growth beyond Black holes, that journeying deeper into some soil is the only way to work with your hands to heal the holes who summon you. Soon, someone will say something about a hatred for darkness and you will understand it as an anti-God, a hatred for holes, a refusing of whole. Soon, you will realize that Black girls with holes all learn to disguise themselves as you. And soon, you will see in the learning of your womb that darkness always brings truth. Thank y'all so much for holding space for me and my poetry. I'm gonna drop some links in the chat to stay connected, but I so appreciate y'all in this space. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All of your poetry and your writing is just beautiful, and it's such a treat to get to hear it out loud. And thank you for also sharing links in the chat. I always ask our features to share ways that folks can stay connected, to support your work, support any upcoming events. So thank you so much. And again, congrats. That's a big deal on your degree. Thank you again. So we have a couple more readers before we close out this evening. I'd like to invite back up Mara Hudson. Welcome back.
Okay, is it working this time?
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, okay. Firstly, congratulations on your degree. That is just great job. I'm so impressed. But yeah, hello y'all. I'm excited to be in community with y'all today. I have 3 poems planned. Some old, some new, some queer, some trans. And that's what we're gonna start with. Trans history. I am throwing my anchor back into the seas of history. Men who gave birth to their children in the middle of a cold night. women who go to war with daggers in their belts, all the people who are starving and street-bound, who fight with their bare hands to make the body become a place like home. My callous feet, wild heart, wondrous ancestors. Their echoes, rippling back through the years to touch my bones briefly. History means the soil where you laughed is the concrete where I laughed too. And stories look like wing feathers, and comets look like ghosts, reaching through the night with glistening palms as if to try and hold me. Here I am, light streak. Here I am, living and alive. Here I am, a sound of waves on shore, growing back, even when the earth pulls on me, and here you are. The calcium in my bones, the salt in my blood, the pieces of me that mean something. I am throwing myself into your arms. I am living because you help carry me. And, oh my goodness, where did I put it? Next is September. September, now. These half-summer days bleed into ghosts with nostalgia dripping down their lungs, like graveyards in liquid night. Sunset becomes a thief who devours the sky and reaches for more, always hungry, always eating away at the stars and hoping to be left with a bare body to burn. My bones belong to another girl whose fingerprints are not mine to keep, so I carve my ribs clean and starve until I can no longer taste apologies like love letters in the soft space between my tongue and teeth. I'm sorry for not loving, not knowing when to stop. Sometimes I think that God is already 6 feet under. And lastly, October. I tell someone I love them, and the wind chokes on her own body. Heart faltering like flesh and blood caught up in a ghost town where the dead grasp at anything beating and clutch it to their chests, whispering, "Why can't I breathe? Why can't I ever breathe?" My God has no lungs. I talk to her at night, and when she looks at me, the earth sighs and the trees relax their fists and the leaves fall to the ground and the angels think, I know what it feels like too. September shuts her eyes, says it's been a long time coming. And lastly, July. My God has bones of salt, has teeth of lavender petals still wet with dew. When I tell her about the love I have in me, her heart turns firefly gold, so bright I see it all the way from the ground. Her glowing chest another Saturn in the clear night sky. My God has eyes of violet inkwells. She sends me rainwater and cut peaches when I can't sleep, which must be her way of saying, I'm proud. I'm proud you decided not just to live, but to live like your blood is a sunrise. Thank you.
Wow, those pieces were amazing. Thank you so much for sharing them and for being here in community with us. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Andrea Jacobo up to the mic. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And like, congratulations on your doctorate. I'm so excited to know that there are women out here who are doing it and I can aspire to. I'm finishing up my doctorate in public health at Berkeley. So I really wish the Pando didn't like lose the fact that we could have crossed paths with each other. But I'm just really enjoyed your work. So thank you so much. I have two pieces. My name is Andrea Jacobo, and I'm calling from Memphis, Tennessee. And one thing I love about this space is that no matter where you are, you can still connect. The first piece is one I really enjoyed writing. I love the ocean. So this is my my ode to her. Have you ever played with the ocean? Asked her her favorite color, finger curl waves, teach you how to swim and ride this wave. The ones that surprise you, the ones that prepare you, the ones that let you go and be free. Every wave is different. Let the espumita refract un merenguito con el sol. So you can see mil reflexiones, no matter how big or small, each tide bright shines bright. Tu ilumina. Have you ever played with the ocean? Asked her dreams and aspirations and how she wished to cleanse the spirit 7 generations from this day. Finger curl waves teach you how to know how Yemaya can bless us. Break chains from la Niña Pinta y la Santa Maria. Hymns and vibrations that lead us to the wave and warmth and aspiration of good warm waters, of liberation, collective consciousness. Open up your pineal gland. Have you ever played with the ocean? When you know she may not be here one day. To teach us how to be like water, just like rain. Thank you. That was my first piece. Appreciate it. I actually wrote that when I was playing with the ocean. And it just came to me. This next one, I find like I write my pieces when I'm like not supposed to be writing pieces, when I'm supposed to be paying attention and meeting and stuff like that. But now I just put side notes and start writing. So this one, there was a question that was asked, and this is a question for you all. What is your relationship with storytelling? This one's called Griot. I come from a family of storytellers, stories that are shelved in between our pheromones of our bodies, stories buried in between the cracks of heaven, stories, cuentos, that make their waves, make their beds into the grooves of our spirits and the pri-pri of más way. Historias que tú sientes en tu vientre. Like how I am the daughter of my mother and my father's last bachata dance. The silence between them became the great griot, sharing the wisdom of unspoken. Have you ever learned to love in the stories of your parents' honeymoon phase? Tried to excavate why relationships change sheets yet play the same notes? Place your hand on your throat, run down your side. Remind you the stories your tías used to tell you. Yo no te dije. How your womanhood is realized through the objection of a man, the objection of their gaze. It took 21 years for my father to speak protection over these tigres. You know, tigers. Dominicans know how to illustrate, depict, highlight the way someone can claw into your spirit and psyche and prey on your well-being. Tú sabes. I come from a land of storytellers where the cane fields were burned down to the ground, made them into hierarchies and structures of racialized injustice in the bates. Stories where people stray away from the oceans of love to play in the riverbeds of capitalism, neocolonialism, and call it tourism. Or the wonder of the soul. Stories unspoken in the gates of heaven. Stories left behind in the gate of no return. Stories waiting to project the iris in your eyes. Stories that tingle your throat chakra. Energy me, will me, this inquiry. Where do we go from here, my king? Because you see, I'm here in Memphis, Tennessee. What about the stories of love? I heard them in past tense. What about stories of justice? I heard them in future tense. How about we create stories of love, justice, and libertad en plus que perfect? Let the subject-verb agreement be etched into the reparations of our collective liberation. So I ask you, and I sit and listen, what's your relationship with storytelling? Sit in silence, let my warm tears, watercolor stories with no resolve, breaking heels, running from the pain left on the south side of an island. This poem emerges in the daydreams of meetings. I come from a land of storytellers. Have you found your coordinates yet? Line them up to your map quest. Take a moment and listen to the story and flip it. The journey starts with you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Have a good evening. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so, so much for both of those poems and all the questions and, reflections that they prompt. So thank you for bringing that into the space for all of us. And I feel like that's such a beautiful closing note to take
Thank
with
you.
us, to think about all of our relationships to storytelling. So thank you. I want to thank all of our readers today. This has been such a beautiful evening, such a range of poetry, and so grounding and so healing as always. Thank you, Ree. That was absolutely incredible. It's so wonderful to hear your poetry. Thank you again for sharing your work, for sharing information about your book and how people can support your continued work as well. I want to share that this is an ongoing series, so we will be gathering again together in the virtual space next month on November 17th. It's a Thursday evening as well, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And we have the wonderful Adrienne Danielle Oliver as our feature. And I'll be sharing information in the chat in just a moment for you to sign up, both to attend and also to read. If you're interested in getting back on the mic, please use the link that we send out to sign up and do so. Share it with your friends. This is also just one of many programs that we do here at the Museum of the African Diaspora. So I encourage you to visit our website, which is moadsf.org. Check out our calendar of events. We're still doing a lot of things online for those of you who may not be here in the Bay Area. We do have some in-person offerings as well. So hopefully there's something for everyone, and many ways to stay engaged and support. We always love seeing folks who come to our programs become members, donating and supporting all the work that we do. It really goes a long way. And lastly, all we ask of you is if you can take a few moments after this program to give us your feedback. We'll drop a program survey in the chat, and it should also pop up when you leave the meeting. Send us your thoughts and feedback, any other program ideas you'd like to see, any other ways we can better support our communities. We love to hear from you. So thank you all again for being here in this space, for participating, our active listeners, our performers. It's been such a beautiful evening. So take care, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your week. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Take care.